Save me.
My center is Miami.
The whole city.
Listen, and I gotta apologize to Marcelo Hernandez because he's from Miami. So
I'm gonna need you to just go back to Miami and have a good experience. You got this.
I have to run it back because, man.
Well, Chappelle, we want to thank you so much. You're incredible. Next time, come see us in person. Our doors are always open, but we really appreciate you.
I will for sure.
And happy birthday.
Can't wait. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Bye.
Bye now.
In the forecast, how much we could see here coming up in my pinpoint weather forecast.
We do know kind of the exposure for all three of those cases.
The spread of measles in Mecklenburg County, the warning from health officials and what they're saying about quarantines.
They're pushing paper and doing doge and causing people not to get badly needed resources down there.
And North Carolina Senator Thom Tillis ramps up criticism of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, his on-camera call for her firing in the wake of a deadly Minnesota shooting.
Queen City News starts now.
You're looking live now in Uptown Charlotte on our exclusive Arlington camera. As winter weather moves out one weekend, it comes right back this weekend. Thanks for joining us for Queen City News at 10. I'm Caroline Boyer. Chief Meteorologist Tara Lane is in the Pinpoint Weather Center. Tara, this system we could see this weekend is going to look very different from last weekend's ice storm.
It is, as opposed to ice like we were talking about last weekend with the sleet and the freezing rain and even still some snow in some areas. This looks like mostly snow this go around for a good part of the Carolinas too. But for now, we are still nice and dry. Temperatures are tumbling once again after topping out a little bit warmer earlier today, as in 47 degrees. So we had a little more melting taking place, but more of the refreezing happening tonight with those leftover slick spots in the wet areas, and we're allowed to melt today from some of that lingering icy patches. We've got 33 degrees right now in the Queen City with the northwest wind about 7 miles per hour. Temperatures, though, much colder in the mountains, sitting in the mid and upper teens. And look at this. It is still so gusty up there with the wind, 50, 60 or so mile per hour wind gusts. So this is made for a cold weather advisory for tonight. Dangerous cold coming up through early tomorrow morning. Feels like as cold as 10 plus degrees below zero. So dangerous level of cold out there. But we've got mostly clear sky, high pressure keeping things dry for now, and then we take a look at the weekend. What's going to happen then? Low pressure takes over right near the coast, and that's going to bring in a big swath of moisture in the form of snow because it's staying so cold all throughout the atmosphere. So the timing looks to be, this could happen as early as, say, Friday evening. For the most part, it lasts into the day on Saturday, tapers off by early Sunday morning. Several inches of snow are possible, and it could be quite heavy in spots with that light, fluffy snow flying around. I have a few more details coming up in my pinpoint weather forecast in a few minutes.
Schools across the area are changing their schedules because of icy conditions and cold temperatures. This is a look at Lane Road in front of East Gaston High School in Mount Holly. Crews are working on removing the ice from the street. Gaston County schools will run on a 2-hour delay tomorrow. Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools in Cabarrus County are also on 2-hour delays. Several districts will have remote learning days, including Hickory City and Caldwell County. Avery County and Newton-Conover schools are closed for the day. Mecklenburg County health officials are working to identify possible exposures after announcing the third confirmed measles case. The latest patient is an unvaccinated child who's now at home recovering. County health officials say they've surveyed people who've gotten sick to determine where they've been and who they've been around. As Queen City News reporter Shakira Speaks tells us, they want to get any unvaccinated people who've been exposed into quarantine as soon as possible.
Isn't just a childhood rash. There are very significant complications that can happen.
There have been 14 reported cases of the measles in North Carolina since December. They include 3 in Mecklenburg County in the last week. Health officials say the latest case involves an unvaccinated child.
We know that in Mecklenburg County, it's estimated that only about 92%, which seems like a large number, and it is, 92% of kindergartners have been vaccinated. What happens, though, is if that number falls below 95%, you are not considered to have herd immunity, and that's why we believe that we are seeing cases.
Last week, Union County public health officials ordered more than 170 students and employees at Shining Light Baptist Academy in Monroe to quarantine. That followed a measles exposure from an unvaccinated child attending the school. Mecklenburg County officials say there was a separate exposure case on January 17th.
Anybody who attended any event that took place at the church, not the school. Anyone who was at 6100 Sardis Road on January the 17th should be watching out for symptoms of measles.
Experts say it takes about 21 days to show symptoms after exposure. Dr. Smith says North Carolinians who don't know their vaccination status can use the state's immunity tool on the Health and Human Services Department website. Out of the state's 14 cases, 13 involve people 17 and younger, with one lone case from a victim older than 18. 71% were unvaccinated, while only 29% had 1 dose of the vaccine. North Carolina health officials say being vaccinated is the biggest difference in deciding how long people may have to go into quarantine. 1 dose is 93% effective against measles, and 2 doses is 97% effective. Dr. Emma Doran, one of the state's epidemiologists, says people who are vaccinated won't have to quarantine after exposure.
If you have those doses on board, most adults only need 1, but children need those 2, then you're not going to need to quarantine.
In Charlotte, Shakir Speaks, Queen City News.
South Carolina officials say getting vaccinated for measles is necessary to end the outbreak hitting upstate counties. There have been 789 cases there since October. In contrast, last year's West Texas outbreak lasted from January to August with 762 cases.
We did not anticipate that South Carolina case counts in a matter of only 16 weeks would surpass the total number of cases reached in Texas over the course of 7 months. So this is a milestone that we have reached in a relatively short period of time, very unfortunately.
South Carolina state epidemiologist Linda Bell says the outbreak is centered in Spartanburg County, but they're seeing connected cases in surrounding counties. 557 people exposed to the virus are in quarantine. Officials say part of the problem is the upstate's low level of measles vaccination coverage compared to other areas of South Carolina.
So people who are not vaccinated can get very sick and can also unintentionally pass it on to their children, to their parents, to their neighbors, to fellow church members.
South Carolina officials are working with community leaders, including pastors, to encourage people to get their measles shots. We'll look at a town at the center of the South Carolina outbreak coming up in the next half hour. You're looking live at the Capitol building in Washington. Senate Democrats are holding firm on a push to block ICE money for Homeland Security, even as a potential government shutdown looms. As Kristen Eskow reports, the reason is tied to ICE enforcement in Minnesota.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune has urged Democrats to talk with the White House. Now, we did hear Democrats lay out some specific demands at a press conference earlier, including universal use of force standards and a ban on masking for ICE officers.
With the deadline to fund the government now 2 days away, senators remain at odds about a path forward. Days after the killing of Alex Preddy by federal immigration officers, Democrats say they're not ready to provide the votes needed to pass Homeland Security funding.
We are demanding changes for reform for ICE, requiring that the agents at least identify themselves with visible badges, names, take the masks off.
A partial shutdown would impact multiple agencies, including the Pentagon, Health and Human Services, and Transportation.
Senate Democrats are ready to join Republicans in passing them and funding 96% of the federal government.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer wants the Homeland Security money separated. Republicans want one funding package. And Senate Majority Leader John Thune points out it already includes more money for body cameras for ICE officers and de-escalation training.
Those are all things that are included in the DHS funding bill as negotiated by Democrats and Republicans, both House and Senate.
Republicans argue Democrats are to blame if there's a partial shutdown.
The ball continually moves with them, and they're just not interested, I don't think, in governing.
If the funding legislation is amended, it would have to go back to the House for consideration. But the House is on recess all week, and there are no plans for lawmakers to return early. In Washington, I'm Kristen Eskow.
She clearly doesn't know how to manage. She's never managed a large organization, and she's failing at every possible measure of the job.
That's North Carolina Senator Thom Tillis blasting the performance of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. He's among a growing number of bipartisan lawmakers calling for Noem's firing after Saturday's deadly shooting of a Minneapolis protester. Tillis believes Noem and other administration officials mishandled that incident and other parts of immigration enforcement. In a new interview, President Trump took a swing at Tillis over the calls for Noem's firing. The senator had his own response.
To keep these ICE officers safe. Most of them are doing a great job, and they're put in an untenable circumstance in Minnesota right now.
The president called you a moose, right?
I am thrilled about that. That makes me qualified to be Homeland Security Secretary and Senior Advisor to the President.
Tillis has also criticized White House advisor Stephen Miller for his comments on this weekend's shooting and for advising the president to seize Greenland.
We are cold and dry outside for now, but that's going to change by the weekend. Snow is still ahead over the next few days. I'll show you a closer look at the timeline. My pinpoint weather forecast next.
And with that snow possible this weekend, many retailers are preparing for back-to-back rushes for supplies. Why they're worried about the supply chain.
Ron McNair was the Aggie who took A&T into space. Basically said, you can achieve the impossible.
North Carolina remembers one of its own on the 40th anniversary of the tragic Challenger explosion.
We got plenty coming your way at 11 o'clock on Carolina Sports Live. The Hornets still red hot as they get a big win over the obviously on Monday and then getting off to a big lead against Memphis. Also a special one-on-one with Alex Bowman as he gets ready for another season in the 48, and also plenty of soccer talk as well. Charlotte FC, their season right around the corner. That and more at 11 o'clock right here on CSL.
You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. North Carolina retailers are trying to restock their shelves after the last winter storm. Now, another may be on the way. Harrison Grubb spoke to a hardware store operator who says he's having a hard time keeping products in stock.
Sleds and shovels flying off the shelves at Burke Brothers Hardware in Raleigh.
Yes! Just excited.
As excitement grows for the possibility of accumulating snow this weekend.
Are you excited to potentially sled this weekend?
I am.
It's the second straight week customers have been eager to grab winter supplies at the store.
It is extremely hard when they're back to back.
As ice and snow lingers from last weekend's storm, Burke Brothers president Jeff Hastings says they've been inundated with calls about ice melt.
I've got the 3 suppliers have told me that nationwide, especially east of the Mississippi, everybody's out right now.
With this storm expected to just bring snow, he says their supply of shovels and sleds probably won't last very long.
There's some people that will come in early and they'll go ahead and get their shovels or sleds or ice melt. But then you got people that are sort of waiting to the last minute and they expect everybody to be able to have something immediately. And we've got what we've got, but we probably can't get any more.
Spartanburg County officials are also getting ready for another weekend of busy winter weather. Operators of Miracle Hill Ministries gave people a safe place to go Saturday and Sunday when those temperatures dropped. The shelters activate when the temperature gets below 40. Managers say it's about providing shelter and making sure people have something to eat.
And food, peanut butter and jelly, bottled water, things that we can give out to people and they can eat, and it doesn't need any refrigeration or to be cooked or anything.
Ministry workers say their hard work won't stop this weekend because of more cold temperatures and potential snow in the forecast. More than 1.3 million pounds of salt and more than 3 tons of ice melt. That's how much South Carolina road crews put on streets and highways last weekend. Lauren Miller shares how they're preparing for the upcoming winter weather system.
From Friday to Monday night.
So we ran 6 shifts and varied between 50 and 70 team members per shift. Over the 6 shifts, because we run 12 hours a day, we had 361 shifts filled.
The City of Greenville Public Works Director Dave Derrick says his crew logged over 4,000 hours.
During the event, the actual plowing and salting, it was 4,300 plus hours.
Diving deeper into these numbers, the City of Greenville prepared for a few days before the storm.
We used 6,800 gallons of brine to pre-treat the streets before the ice bonds to the surface.
And during the storm, crews used nearly 7,000 pounds of ice melt.
We used 685 tons of salt on top of it.
Derrick says those numbers are high, but needed.
Yeah, each storm is different, so we modify our attack a little differently depending on what it is. So this one being an ice freezing rain event, we use more salt and a little less brine.
Wednesday, crews were still working in smaller neighborhoods to melt the ice from the weekend storm. This monitor shows exactly where the work trucks are, and overall, the main roads are clear and safe to travel on. Derrick says he's happy with their efforts.
We don't really get that much around here, so when we do, it's a little bit exciting, but it's also challenging. But last year, having the hurricane, I think, was probably the best training we could ever have for our staffs.
But we're expecting another winter weather event this weekend. So looking ahead, Derrick's men and women are making sure the plows are still in good condition.
So our plan remains the snow plan. So our blades we use for the snow plows are switched to steel during an ice event and a rubber edge during a snow event. So if we have to plow, which we usually don't until we get at least 2 inches or more, we will use salt and just let the surface, because the temperatures are going to be so cold that it most likely will not be ice, it'll be snow.
With a double threat of winter weather, the City of Greenville says it's ready.
We could see those plows again in our area soon.
They are going to be out and about.
Yes, taking a live look at downtown Monroe now. If you did not get your winter fix last weekend, good news for you. You could get another chance this weekend. Chief Meteorologist Tara Lane is here with me. So talk to us about the timeline, and I guess it's too soon to know how much we're going to get.
Too soon for exact numbers, for specific forecast accumulation numbers. We'll have those tomorrow, so we'll have kind of a first look at some of those tomorrow. But it's looking more and more likely that at least parts of our area, are going to get some heavier snow. Some snow bands rotating on through, and yeah, some widespread. I mean, several inches could pile up, and the most we've seen in several years since 2022. We had those back-to-back snow events 3 weekends in a row, and it added up to just over 4 inches for the month of January. So it's been a while, but we could see some even higher totals, even above 4 inches in parts of the area. So again, as we have been saying, keep checking in for those updates. And meanwhile, today we stayed dry, lots of sunshine. Temperatures warmed up a little more, 47 degrees, which is still a little below average for this time of the year, but a decent warm up compared to how cold it was this morning with that low of 24. We've already got 28 showing up there in Statesville, but 33 in Charlotte. So temperatures are tumbling again tonight. A lot of spots at or below freezing. And so refreezing happening with some of those lingering wet spots from the melting ice and the sleet from over the weekend still happening out there. Mid-teens up in the mountains. That's an issue because already with the blustery conditions with the wind gusts 50, 60 miles per hour. It feels like 4 below zero at last check up in the mountains of Boone and Jefferson down through Avery County. And this situation, that's going to continue through tonight, early tomorrow. So that's why we've got the cold weather advisory in effect for you all in the mountains for another night and early morning tomorrow. We've got high pressure, though, off to the south and helping to keep things dry across the southeast. We've had some scattered clouds moving through from time to time, but no weather issues besides just some of those isolated slick conditions out there, those icy patches. Early tomorrow, we'll be waking up to kind of a partly cloudy sky, a little more sunshine compared to earlier today, just bundling up with the coat and the hats and the gloves with that low of 22. But outside of the city of Charlotte, we could be a little bit colder, down to say 16 in Statesville, 17 in Hickory, and about 10 for the low temperatures in the mountains, and low 20s down to portions of South Carolina. But we do climb back into the lower 40s tomorrow afternoon. Again, the weather staying dry. And then as early as Friday evening, we could start to see a little bit of that snow breaking out. Could briefly begin with a rain or a little bit of a wintry mix, but that's not going to last long. For the most part, we are looking at pure snow, and that's going to last for pretty much the entire day on Saturday. It is just going to be a totally snowy Saturday coming up. It's going to wrap up by Saturday night, heading into the wee hours of Sunday morning there. As I said, several inches of snow will be possible. Heavy in spots, but it's going to be of the light and fluffy variety. So we talk about the snow plows and shoveling. It's going to be easier to shovel. You can just kind of quickly brush it away. And boy, that snow, because it is so light and fluffy, it's going to be blowing around with some gusty wind too. It is going to get blustery out there. This is mainly going to lead to travel impacts. You know how that goes with the airports and just trying to get around in that snow out there on the road. So as I said, by late Friday, starting to see signs of that moisture increase, with some snow developing and going into the night, and a little bit of a zoomed out look here. There's that area of low pressure, and as it tracks right there near the coast, it's going to wrap in these swaths of snow covering most of the Tar Heel state, dropping down into South Carolina, stretching on up into portions of Virginia as well, and up toward the DC metro area if it stays on that forecast track. And you can see on the timeline already by early on Sunday morning is starting to wrap up and lift out to the north and east. So all that being said, Saturday a pinpoint weather alert day with snowy and breezy conditions. Stays kind of windy into Sunday as the sunshine returns, and check out those colder temperatures again. 28 for a high on Saturday. If that, it may even be a little colder, especially with that snowpack around, and we could have some single-digit lows again by early Monday morning.
Officials say a Matthews firefighter is in the hot seat following a blaze he allegedly started. The suspicions colleagues had that something wasn't right. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. A Matthews Fire and EMS battalion chief is facing criminal charges following accusations he started a fire in a building. Peter Blach allegedly set the blaze last month at a vacant restaurant on East Independence Boulevard. As Queen City News reporter Jen Cardone tells us, Blach's own colleagues had suspicions about him and launched an investigation that led to his arrest.
It all started here at the abandoned Boston Market off East Independence on January 12th. Investigators were suspicious of a fire battalion chief Peter Blach allegedly called in. An affidavit reveals Blach arrived on scene and told Captain Wilson Tart that he thought he saw smoke coming from the roof. The captain said he did not see anything and followed Blach to the right side of the building where they entered through a broken glass door. They eventually discovered the fire on top of a door frame between the restrooms and the kitchen. Tart noted that it seemed suspicious that the fire was in the wall and there was no electricity in the building. 10 days later, Blach did a walkthrough of the scene with fire marshals who agreed that someone with a vast knowledge of fire and how buildings are constructed would know that the locations of the fires would not cause the building to burn quickly or completely. GPS showed Blach's vehicle's location at the Boston Market hours before the fire. He told his colleagues in a group text he had been checking for brush fires and had run off some homeless people from the vacant business. The affidavit says that Captain Tart started tracking Blach's vehicle after a suspicious fire in March of 2025. Town officials would not confirm to us where that fire was at, but we reported on a structure fire at this property that Blach emailed us about, and guess what? It's right behind the Boston Market. In a report written by Blach about the Boston Market fire, he said he believes the fire was set by human hands, but it did not appear to have been set by a possible homeless person trying to stay warm. Blach joined the Matthews Fire Department in July of 2024 after coming from Cornelius Lemley Fire Rescue. His previous department said he was in New York on September 11, 2001, operating in Stairwell B of the North Tower when the South Tower collapsed.
The person you are trying to reach is not accepting calls at this time.
We tried calling Blach for comment, but his phone was disconnected. Jen Cardone, Queen City News.
President Trump says he wants to invest in America's youth. The intentions behind what he's calling Trump accounts. And 40 years since the Challenger explosion, how the NASA disaster is being remembered at a North Carolina school. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. The president is celebrating his new Trump accounts, launching them alongside business leaders and even rapper Nicki Minaj. The investment accounts would give $1,000 to every child born between 2025 and 2028. Maddie Beertemple tells us more about the rollout.
We're going to give every newborn American child a financial stake in the future.
$1,000 in the stock market for babies now and a shot at financial freedom years down the road. That's what President Trump says the new Trump accounts will give families.
We're going to put $3 to $4 trillion of wealth into the hands of young Americans.
Established in the Big Beautiful Bill, these government-created tax-free investment accounts will be seeded with $1,000 from the Treasury for babies born between January 2025 and December 2028. Parents and loved ones can add up to $5,000 each year.
All Americans will begin their lives with a beautiful nest egg.
Children can tap into the funds once they're 18 to pay for school, buy a house, or start a business. Or they can let the money grow, like a retirement account. Families thanked the president on stage.
This sends a powerful message that this administration believes that financial opportunity can start early.
Even rapper Nicki Minaj was there.
I am probably the president's #1 fan.
Parents can activate the accounts this July at trumpaccounts.gov or sign up by filling out a form on their 2025 taxes. Under a high-yield scenario with maximum contributions made over time, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says a Trump account could make your grown child a millionaire.
The projected value will be nearly $1.1 million by the time they are 28 years old.
In Washington, I'm Maddie Beertemple.
South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster's final State of the State address is in the books. His speech touched on many issues, including economic growth, income tax cuts, and judicial reform. McMaster says $9.1 billion was invested last year into the state's economy, creating thousands of jobs.
Since 2017, we've announced over $53.7 billion in new capital investment and almost 100,000 new jobs. Why? Because state government is in superior fiscal shape, our laws and policies are business friendly, our income tax is shrinking every year, and our population continues to grow.
The governor is also proud of the state's rapidly growing population, but McMaster also warns success brings challenges, including the impact of inflation on construction costs and strain on infrastructure.
Our electric generation, distribution, and transmission capacity and capabilities must be able to handle enhanced future economic development, anticipated technological advances, and population growth.
McMaster is term limited, with a new governor set to be elected later this year. 5 Republicans and 3 Democrats are seeking that office. The town of Inman in Spartanburg County is one of the hot spots in the upstate measles outbreak. The majority of people who've gotten sick caught the virus from others in close contact. People in the town are encouraging each other to be part of stopping the spread.
My kids are vaccinated, and I believe I've done what I can to, take care of them. And other than that, I just trust that the local schools and families are doing the same.
If you're going in a public place like church or a store and your kids are sick, be mindful of the people around you. I mean, it should be common courtesy that you don't impose that on other people.
Last school year, 90% of school-aged children had been vaccinated for measles. Doctors believe 95% is needed for herd immunity. A former employee at a resort along South Carolina's Grand Strand says he and other workers are owed thousands of dollars in back pay. Gabby Jonas spoke with that employee about his claims.
For the last 2 months, I've been the security guard, the front desk manager, maintenance, housekeeping, you name it. And I'm not getting any money at all.
Last Friday, Dan says he resigned from the resort after not receiving 4 of his roughly $1,200 biweekly paychecks. But he says he wasn't the only one who hasn't received their pay. He says more than a dozen other employees have left the resort due to not receiving their money, a situation he says started way before he quit last week.
November 19th week, that was my last direct deposit. And then about 10 days later, after I've already spent about 90% of my paycheck, that check, the entire amount, came out of my account. And I guess it reversed or something, or it bounced. And I said, what's going on? What is this? And they said they're going to fix it. They eventually did fix that, but then after that, the following checks just stopped coming in.
He says that money still hasn't come in since December 8th. 3 days after that, his payroll app iSolved shows he was paid roughly $1,700. But when you look at his bank statements on December 11th, the money doesn't show up. Never receiving that larger paycheck, Dan says, has created even more issues.
It says that I paid federal tax, state tax on it, and I never received that deposit. I went to my bank, they said there's nothing in the system about it. And so the whole thing just gets sketchier and sketchier by the week.
Dan says due to the loss in funds, he's struggled to provide his mother with financial support. He says the partial property owner told him that he will be paid, but Dan says he'll believe it when he sees it.
After 2 months, it's just ridiculous. And I'm at the point where A, I'm desperate, I need bills paid, and B, like I can't believe him anymore. I can't believe anybody anymore. And I truly don't think that the money's ever going to come.
That was Gabby Jonas reporting. Our Myrtle Beach sister station reached out to the new president of the Homeowners Association, who's responsible for paying the former employees, and has not heard back. Bill Belichick will not be a first ballot inductee to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The current UNC head coach won 6 Super Bowl rings at the helm of the New England Patriots dynasty. Ethan Logue talked with disgruntled Pats fans about the surprising snub.
Very distressed, very upset, want to know names.
Shocked, just like everybody else. I think they're going to hear some chatter from us a lot more.
Pats fans upset after the news of former head coach Bill Belichick not making the Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility became public Tuesday. Belichick undeniably has one of, if not the most impressive resumes of any coach in NFL history. 8 total Super Bowls, 333 wins as a head coach, and a 3-time NFL Coach of the Year, to name a few.
He was a huge part of our lives growing up. We had 2 of the best decades of our life. It hurt, but at the same time, we know he's going to get in there. But for him not to be first, it's very unfortunate.
He loves the game of football, and he put his heart and soul into every game, and he should have been voted in.
However, during his time patrolling the sidelines in Foxborough, there were instances where Belichick was accused of cheating, the most notable being his alleged involvement in the Deflategate and Spygate scandals. Despite that, Pats fans feel that those cases should not have impacted whether or not Belichick was voted in.
I think those things were kind of blown out of proportion. I don't think any of them were true to begin with anyways, and I think that just if you do a good job, you should get rewarded for that.
With the Pats kicking off against the Seahawks in Super Bowl 60 less than 2 weeks from now, fans aren't concerned that this storyline will become a distraction for players and coaches.
I don't think Mike Vrabel's going to allow that to distract. He's a coach that knows what's going on. He played for the winning Super Bowl teams, and he's coaching one now.
Today marks 40 years since the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger just over a minute after its launch in Florida. Crew members killed that day had ties to North Carolina, including North Carolina A&T State University graduate Ron McNair.
Ron McNair lived a life that was so motivated and so inspirational and so driven that even 40 years after his passing, he is still motivating students to strive for their highest and their best.
University officials say McNair left an immense legacy at the school and inspired students to start careers in science. Joletta Patrick worked at NASA for more than 20 years after she graduated from NC
Followed in his footsteps without trying to, and there is an immense feeling of gratitude. I walked McNair Hall as an engineering student. Our building was the McNair Engineering Building. Never in my mind, as I'm doing digital logic or I'm studying circuits, did I ever think, Gillette, you're going to work at NASA where Ron McNair worked.
Another of the Challenger astronauts, Mike Smith, was born in eastern North Carolina. Many of the people who witnessed the shuttle explosion are looking back on that day. As Marvin Scott reports, it left many with more questions than answers.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
It was a bitter, cold, sunny day in Florida, a day filled with the hopes and dreams of 7 astronauts that were shattered just 73 seconds into their flight.
Reports from the flight dynamics officer indicate that the vehicle apparently exploded.
The shuttle disintegrated, killing all 7 astronauts, including the first civilian, a teacher, Krista McCullough, who was going to perform a few lessons from space. The shock and grief immediately impacting her family, witnessing the launch. How could this have happened? That was the question everyone asked, as an investigation immediately got underway.
For almost 2 days now, technicians and investigators have been scrambling for answers that are not there, at least not there yet.
As wreckage was retrieved, so were some answers. The unusually bitter cold weather weakened the O-ring seals in Challenger's right solid rocket booster. They were designed to prevent hot gases from leaking, causing the shuttle to rupture just over a minute into flight.
Liftoff. Liftoff.
As investigators later discovered, there had been multiple warnings about the cold weather having a potentially devastating effect on the shuttle. 40 years later, there are memorial services for the 7 astronauts who reached for the stars but lost their lives. President Reagan remembered them in his address to a nation that was in mourning.
We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them this morning, as they prepared for their journey and waved goodbye and slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God.
An inspirational trip across the Pacific. Why one man is breaking barriers to get to his destination.
Well, the upcoming storm for the weekend, it's been several years since many of you have seen snow like this. Yes, it can start to pile up pretty good. I'll show you a closer look at the timeline in my Pinpoint Weather Forecast. That's next.
You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. A blind sailor in San Diego is making history in his journey across the Pacific. Delaney White tells us about the inspirational voyage.
Don't limit yourself, Let's make impossible possible together.
That's the motto of Hiro Iwamoto, a San Diego-based sailor who's planning to do what's never been done before, a solo sail between San Diego and Japan, completely blind.
He first attempted this in 2013, and we're talking totally visually impaired, can't see a thing.
The first attempt was short-lived.
6 days into the 2013 trip, you hit a whale.
But Hiro was determined, and with the help of a guide, he completed a trans-Pacific voyage in 2019. After losing his sight at the age of 13, Iwamoto says he's consistently chosen challenge as his path forward, sailing through barriers. Now he's setting out to achieve new goals, planning to end his next trans-Pacific journey in his hometown in Japan.
I want to do this by myself, and I talked to the project manager here, and let's do it, because of you cannot see, it doesn't mean, you cannot do this.
To accomplish his goal, he's relying on his other senses.
I feel more senses than, sight. So I feel the wind, and wind on the cheek, and the sunlight, and the sun warmness.
He also uses a number of different gadgets, such as an app called Lena that converts data to voice.
Lena, wind speed true.
Wind speed true 14 knots. And a camera on the boat, sending data through Starlink.
So that anyone can see on the land what's going on and what kind of action I'm taking.
On Tuesday, a surprise Challenged Athletes Foundation grant from sailing legend Malin Burnham was given to support Iwamoto's journey.
There is no limit for Hiro. Hiro can do whatever he wants.
Taking a live look now at downtown Blowing Rock. Last weekend brought freezing rain and sleet, but there's a better chance we see snow this weekend.
Yes.
Chief Meteorologist Tara Lane is with me now. There is a little bit of uncertainty, but we do know not as crazy as far as the ice goes for this
a little
time.
more fun,
Yes.
I would say, for the kids
Not as
out there,
dangerous.
for sleigh ride, not as dangerous, I know, and easily brushed away, too. That's the thing with this light, fluffy consistency and that light, fluffy snow. It's going to be easily just brushed away and plowable, and maybe not so great for making snowballs and snowmen, but definitely good for sledding and maybe a little bit easier, like I said, to get around in. However, it is still going to make for difficult travel out there, developing on the roads as early as Friday night and continuing throughout the weekend, possibly early next week. So plan for more travel issues out of the airports and, as I said, driving around too. But we're still in the clear tonight. So tonight we're looking good. Tomorrow, a good day to hit the store for some groceries or if you need some supplies before the roads start to get snowy as we head into the weekend. 33 degrees right now, so awfully close to freezing once again in the Queen City with a north-northwest light wind, about 5 to 10 miles per hour. We've got those colder spots, of course, surrounding the city of Charlotte. We've already dropped down to 27. Friends in Wadesboro there, 28 in Lancaster. We've got 33 in Lincolnton. About 30 degrees in Hickory and sitting in the mid-teens up in the mountains, and that is a problem again because we have such windy conditions. Already it feels like it's 4 or 5 degrees below zero with the gusty wind picking up around 40 and above miles per hour. So blustery out there, and that has prompted that cold weather advisory again lasting through tomorrow morning for you all in the high country with those chills as cold as 10 or so degrees below zero. That is a dangerous amount of cold. We've got high pressure though, again, keeping things dry across all of the southeast. That's going to change though this weekend as low pressure takes over and brings us that round of moisture as temperatures get even colder for the upcoming weekend. Colder tonight, again, much like this morning, temperatures will tumble into the teens to lower 20s, all of us below freezing, so those icy spots will be lingering for that morning drive, and just taking the dog out for a walk, just be mindful of that. Once again, could be a little slick where the little piles of sleet and ice continue to be out there. 42 degrees for tomorrow afternoon, so again, more melting taking place with that mix of sun and clouds and a little bit lighter of wind out there. So as far as the timing goes for the weekend storm, some of that snow and a little bit of a brief rain mix could begin as early as late Friday afternoon, Friday evening, but the majority of that snow really kicks in overnight and all throughout the day on Saturday. At this point, just plan for a snowy Saturday. Sunday is looking brighter. It's all pretty much over and done with after the early morning time frame, but we could be talking several inches of snow, heavy in spots too. And because it's so light and fluffy, it's going to be blowing around, especially with the wind picking up, gusting around 25 plus miles per hour. So travel definitely will be impacted. And then we've got more, as I said, dangerous cold to talk about as we head into the weekend. So not too much going on for tomorrow, just some scattered clouds mixing in, but clouds will be increasing from the west, low pressure developing, and then eventually wrapping in the swath of snow. Look at that, covering most of the Carolinas up into parts of the Virginias. By Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, it's ongoing. Just heavier bands could be around, wrapping in around that area of low pressure, windy conditions before noticed by 8 a.m. on Sunday. It's starting to pull away there, and it's pretty much over and done with that point. But as I said, the wind is going to be picking up. Check out some of these gusts as we go into early Saturday, especially late Saturday into the afternoon and evening, especially up toward the Triad, central and eastern part of the state. They could be whipping as high as, say, 35, even close to 40 or so miles per hour. So we could be talking about some blizzard conditions out near coastal sections of the Carolinas. All this being said, pinpoint weather alert day coming up for Saturday with the snowy conditions, and look at that, 28 degrees for a high, and we could be feeling some single-digit lows again by early next week.
Veterans deserve some Valentine's Day love. The West Virginia tradition making sure our nation's heroes aren't forgotten. And Gabe McDonald is here with a preview of Carolina Sports Live at 11.
Yeah, the Hornets keep winning, going on the road and doing so with a big win over the Grizzlies tonight. We're going to break down how they got it done and how they can keep this going with a big game coming up against Dallas and then one against Wemby and the Spurs on Saturday. Plus a special one-on-one with Hendrick Motorsports driver Alex Bowman as he gets ready for another season in the 48 car. Plus a lot of soccer talk as well with Charlotte FC and Carolina Ascent back on the pitch this weekend. That and more coming up at the top of the hour right here on CSL.
You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. The nation's veterans deserve love as Valentine's Day approaches. 2 West Virginia funeral homes are collecting donations to provide gifts for men and women who've served. Workers will collect the items and distribute them to vets in area communities. They're also gathering notes for vets, ranging from crayon hearts to handwritten messages reminding them they aren't forgotten.
Little messages like, we're here for you, we're supporting you, and the little hearts that are sideways and not the correct direction, but like flags on them and little soldiers and little messages that they write.
Organizers collect about 2,000 Valentines each year. Over time, that has added up to more than 27,000 cards sent to vets. All right, it's another case of a raccoon rummaging in a liquor store, this time in the town of Carbondale, Kansas. The store's owner believes the animal had planned the break-in for a while, saying he'd heard noises from the attic. The animal created a hole in the ceiling, walked around the store, then crawled right back up when it was done. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. We'll be right back with a final check of your pinpoint forecast, followed by Carolina Sports Live.
Well, it's cold out there again tonight. No surprise there. We're getting used to this, and these temperatures in the teens and 20s is what you're going to be waking up to tomorrow morning. So still watch out for those lingering icy spots out there after a little bit of melting that took place today. We'll see a little more of that tomorrow and a little more sunshine too, up to 42. And then we are getting ready for that snowy weather developing starting late Friday night and into the day on Saturday. It looks snowy off and on all throughout the day on Saturday, but second half of the weekend, it's going to be drier for Sunday, but just cold. Look at that high on Saturday, only in the 20s.
Hard to believe we could see some actual snow.
We could.
Thanks for joining us. Carolina Sports Live is next.
Now, it's CSL, Carolina Sports Live.
It's another Buzz City beatdown. Now the Hornets continue their winning ways as they keep climbing the Eastern Conference standings while making a statement across the entire association. Welcome to Carolina Sports Live on this Wednesday night. She is Gia Lancey. I'm Gabe McDonald. A whole lot coming your way tonight. And as always, we appreciate you joining us over the next half hour.
Tonight we bring on the driver of the 48 for Hendrick Motorsports, Alex Bowman, as our guest to preview the upcoming season, plus plenty of soccer talk today. We hear from Wilfred Zaha ahead of his second season with the Crown. We also check in with the Carolina Ascent as they make their return to the pitch this weekend. But we start with the Hornets, who look to continue their winning ways on the court.
Yeah, Charlotte back on the road in Grind City. Former Michigan State Spartans Miles Bridges and Jaren Jackson Jr. meeting up before the Hornets face the Grizzlies. Sure, Joey Ellis would have loved to have been there for that conversation. Charlotte getting out to yet another fast start. Brandon Miller off the screen. He's money from the top of the key. 3 of his team high 26 points. Hornets in front by 15. They led by 8 after 1. Into the second, Memphis fights all the way back. Jaren Jackson Jr. with the rock takes it into the corner. That 3 up and good. Grizzlies now in front by 1. Jackson also with 26 tonight. Just for the half, Miles pulling up from Little Rock gets the 3 to go just before the horn. Woo. Charlotte heading into the locker room with a 7-point advantage. On the other side of the break, the Hornets would take over. LaMelo driving in the lane, the dish to Miles, and check this out. Time for liftoff. Put him on a poster, young man. 2 of Bridges' 20 points coming on that monster jam. Back to a 15-point lead for Charlotte. However, the unsung hero of the night, Moussa Diabate, Memphis, with no respect to the big fella, makes them pay his first 3 in a Hornet uniform. Plenty of reasons to be all smiles, but it wasn't done. Very next possession down, Moussa with the tomahawk on the fast break, going coast to coast. Heck of a night for him, 18 points and a career-high 20 boards. A big reason why Charlotte was able to win this one with these. Hornets out winners of 4 straight as they take down the Grizzlies, 112-97.
20 rebounds. How you feeling, my dude? And he hit the tray at the end. Hey, I had to lock in on this one. Tell him I had to lock in. But yeah.
I'm going to ask you the same thing. 20 rebounds, 18 points. You bring so much joy, as you can just see, to so many people. What is it like to look over at the bench and see your teammates so happy and celebrating with you?
Feels great. I mean, it's an amazing feeling. I feel like the fact that we're winning and, we're actually playing with actual intent, I mean, it just brings everything together. And I mean, it's obviously amazing when you play and you have fun all the time.
And here's a look at the final numbers from tonight's action. Both teams actually shot the ball well tonight from the field. Buddy City, though, shot at just 3% better. Story of the night has to be the rebounding. Dominant performance by Charlotte, out-rebounding the Grizzlies 43-29. Got to give lots of credit to Moussa for snagging 20 of them all by himself. The largest lead ballooned up to 22 for Buzz City tonight. The Grizzlies' largest lead, just 3 points. Brandon Miller, of course, leading the way with 26 points. And all I can do is this right here, because this man, Mr. Diabate, did his thing tonight. A guy that obviously a lot of people talked about bringing the spark off the bench, now becoming a guy that can really be a key starter for this team. When he's on the court with Miles, Khan, Brandon, LaMelo, this team is 10-1, and obviously that's the combination that they need in order to be able to make it to where they want to get to, and obviously a combination that works well together like we saw again tonight.
Right. I mean, obviously give props to Moussa, but they're playing as a team.
For sure, absolutely.
In their last 4 wins, every starter has scored in double digits.
Yep.
They're just figuring this out. And like we've been talking about all year, they needed to find that rhythm. And look what's happening now. They're getting the success, and they're being rewarded for it.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at obviously the next few games, they're playing the entire, division down there in the Southwest. But, too, this is a chance for them to make up a lot of ground. I think this is a team that obviously a lot of people are starting to take a lot of notice. You think about the national love they're getting. It's really not something that's getting to their head yet. They know that they haven't really done much of anything yet. There's still a lot of ball left to play, but it's a hungry team, but also a young team that is gelling together, playing the right way. And you got to give a lot of credit to Charles Lee for being able to make certain adjustments and get the team in the best position.
Absolutely. And, of course, celebrating tonight. But let's look ahead at the upcoming slate for the Hornets. No time for rest as they finish up their back-to-back tomorrow night in Dallas to face the Mavericks. Then it's back to the Hive to host Wemby and the Spurs Saturday afternoon. A lot of eyes will be on that game, followed by a home matchup with the Pelicans next Monday. Charlotte wraps up the Southwest Division swing in H-Town on February 5th against the Rockets. The Hornets will then hit the road February 7th to face the Hawks in Atlanta. From the court to the track, we're just 4 days away from NASCAR revving their engines for the big preseason race in Winston-Salem. The clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. However, winter weather is forecasted to hit the Carolinas this weekend, where crews are doing extra work on the track to make sure they even have a chance at racing. They're de-icing the track and getting the stands ready for the fans, but of course we'll still get you ready for the preseason race as per usual, and Gabe actually caught up with Alex Bowman ahead of the clash this weekend.
Well, Alex, I'd be remiss if I didn't begin this interview with congratulations. You get engaged over the course of the offseason. Just take me through that and just the offseason as a whole and how exciting that was for you. Get ready for another year here on the track in that 48 for Hendrick.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a good offseason, honestly. It's pretty quiet, other than the engagement. Like, we didn't really do a lot. Traveled a little bit. Went to Chili Bowl, did that. That week went really well, probably as good as you can ask with 2 cars in that place. It's a tough event, and we had a pretty good showing. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, other than that, just kind of an enjoyable, low-key off-season. Definitely just excited to get going. A lot of new faces on the 48 team. Really good group of guys that I'm excited to get to work with. So going to do our best to go win some races.
And of course, to be the best, you got to train like the best. You guys get that new performance center over there. Just your thoughts on that. Did you get anything special in your locker? And how is it, just to have that investment from the folks up top in order for you guys to be able to perform your best each and every race day?
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited about it. I actually worked out there this morning for the first time. I train at a gym that's really close to the shop pretty much every day, but Tuesdays, there's never really anybody in there. And I was like, well, I'll just go to the shop and work out there. So I worked out with some of the pit crew guys, which was cool. The facility is so nice. Like, there's so much equipment. The recovery stuff's awesome. It's next level. It's super cool. I've never been anywhere like that.
Looking at this weekend, weather kind of dicey when you think about the clash at Bowman Gray, potential for maybe some ice drifting, a little bit of Mario Kart out there. Just your thoughts on potentially, being able to be out there, hopefully, to get a little bit of a tune-up there before heading down to Daytona.
Yeah, I'm curious what's going to happen. I think every time I just was talking about how I've been trying to stay off social media, been getting back on social media to try to figure out what's actually going to happen this weekend, because I feel like social media typically knows before I do. So I've seen like 8 different rumors on what's really going to happen with the weather or not. So curious to see kind of where that all plays out and if it snows or ices or how cold it really ends up being. Hopefully everybody can stay warm, and hopefully the forecast is over-exaggerated and we can put on a good show.
Hopefully so. And you mentioned, being on, being off social media. Is there Alex Bowman, is there a Finsta, a burner account around? Do you think any other drivers may have one, in order to maybe stay up to date but not being, too active on there?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anybody has one. Hard to say, but I think, sometimes you just got to avoid that stuff because there's certainly more negative than positive. And as a race car driver, that can be tough at times. So, just use it when we need it. I think there's definitely a lot of information on there that during the season, like, you have to have it. I have to see what Bob Pockrass is tweeting to know what's actually happening. If I'm not on Twitter, I'm in trouble on knowing what's going on. So, got to use it, but try to not read the bad stuff if possible.
No, I definitely feel that. Bob Pockrass is also a good friend of the program as well. Alex, we appreciate the time, my man. Look forward to seeing you in Daytona in a couple weeks.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, from the pavement back to the gridiron, one of the most intriguing prospects in this year's draft, none other than Vanderbilt product Diego Pavia. And our Simone Eli caught up with him after some Senior Bowl action down in Mobile earlier today.
How do you feel like today went? I feel really good. You kind of get to see what some of these guys can do. It's like, oh, I should just throw it up every time. You know what I mean? But yeah, I had an amazing experience here today. That's why I'm here. You know, at the Panini Bowl. Super thankful for Drew bringing me here and inviting me here. And, this opportunity is something that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
What do you hope to prove to scouts, coaches this week when you're out here?
That I'm the best player in the country. You get me, you're going to get someone who's a winner, a competitor, a leader, and someone who doesn't take no for an answer.
What's your offseason been like, just in terms of you wanting to get back on the field and to show people, hey, what you're all about?
I'm a grinder. That's all I've ever known my whole life. I tell this story a lot. Back home, there's not like Melky's been back home. It's not a lot there, you know what I mean, back in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the way I would train is I tell my brother, hey, we're in the road, middle of the road, and he's going measuring out 20 yards with his feet. And I was like, all right, time me. And I'm running a 3.9, 20 yards. I'm like, dude, scoot your in, you know what I mean? I need 20 yards, so, but that's just who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we got to get off the field. I want to ask you, any interviews, meetings with teams, and what have you heard from so far?
Yeah, they put me on the board. They've heard my story. I told them my story just about my upbringing, just the sports that I played and things like that. And I hope, I hope someone gets me, and the team that gets me, I'm going to do everything I can in my willpower. I'll die for the team.
Cool. Diego, appreciate you, man. Best of luck this week, bro. Appreciate it.
Straight from the big dog himself. With the Checkers back on the ice as they look to end their road stretch on a high note. If they go 3 for 3 on their road trip, they got those highlights from their game against Hartford coming your way next.
And on the pitch, Charlotte FC is gearing up to head down to the Sunshine State to continue their training camp. How is familiar face Wilfried Zaha gearing up for the 2026 campaign? Hear from the man himself next. And the NBA trade deadline right around the corner. One of the league's biggest stars could be on the move.
Yeah, the Greek Freak interested in finding a new home, but what's it going to take to get him in the trade? We'll discuss that coming up in Quick 6 right here on CSL. Back here on CSL, the Checkers on their last game of the home stretch, looking to extend that win streak to 4 games tonight against the Hartford Wolfpack. Just a few minutes into the first period, handoff here to Nate Smith, who buries the first goal of the game. Checkers out to an early 1-0 lead. Fast forward to 3 minutes to go now in the first. Final on the boards here behind the net. Reese Gabersfeed somehow finds Ben Steeves right in front of the net. Right place at the right time for that easy goal. Checkers now leading 2-0, and they wouldn't let up. Charlotte would score 5 more times as they're going to dominate Hartford 7-1 at the Biscuit, as they've now won 7 of their last 8 games. Well, from the rink to the pitch now, Charlotte FC gearing up for its 2026 campaign and looking to make a much deeper run than last year, Gia.
As preseason training continues, the club is preparing to head down to the Sunshine State. And the Crown just played in their first friendly of the preseason against Charleston Battery, resulting in a 3-1 victory. A familiar face also returned to training today, Wilfried Zaha, who was back in action for the Crown. Zaha coming off a stellar season in 2025, but another friendly is on the horizon. The Crown will face off against Sporting KC on the 31st, and the man himself, Zaha, is excited for this group to continue to grow with plenty of lessons learned from last season.
I think the only thing I can say is just don't get too high and don't get too low, because the season showed it. Like, we've lost games and everyone was making out like someone died. But it's not that way. We're not all of a sudden the worst team ever. So it just shows that from taking those losses, we go on to have 9 games where we've won. So it's a thing where we just need to work together, because we have the ability to do what we did, but not think we've made it. Basically, I think that's the lesson for this season. Just work quietly.
And staying on the pitch, after wrapping up its slate of fall matches in late December, Carolina sent FC finally back on the pitch this weekend, taking on Sporting Jacks, who currently sit in first place in the Gainbridge Super League standings. As our Casey Funderburg reports, the team feels good heading into the weekend, especially with their new additions.
Carolina Ascent made the most of their time off the pitch preparing for the 2026 portion of the schedule, adding a few new faces to the team, including a name many across the league recognize, NWSL champion Shea Groom. Groom has 11 seasons under her belt, bringing more veteran experience to the group.
Shea's been great since she got here. I think not just impact on the pitch, but I think Shea's impact in the locker room, Shea's impact in the community is going to be big. Obviously, she's probably the biggest name in the league, so we're really excited, and I think she's going to be a player that our fans love. We were careful to not bring in too many big names at all at the start, so kind of adding one piece at a time, and I think Shea is the next step for us, where we've established ourselves in the city and we've established our team, and now it's about continuing to move forwards.
Carolina now has a score to settle with Sporting Jacks this weekend, after falling short to them at home early in the fall season after an impressive second-half comeback that came up short.
We know we have the ability to take the 3 points. I think it says a lot about a group when you start badly and can recover, as opposed to the other way around. So yeah, I think it just goes to our locker room and our culture and our group. I think we've got a good one. We all, you know, I'm a coach, right? I love the training pitch. I love working away and getting better, but nothing can replace a game. I know these guys are itching to play. We've had 2 preseason friendlies, and now they get to play the real thing under the lights in front of fans.
With a new year and a newly worked roster, Carolina Ascent is hoping to continue to climb. Casey Funderburg, Carolina Sports Live.
Appreciate it, Casey. To the hardwood, the 49ers went to the wire against the Temple Owls. Did they pull out the win? Plus, South Carolina went toe-to-toe with 19th-ranked Florida. Of those highlights coming up next.
And only 2 teams are still looking for their next head coach. Panthers OC hasn't gained much traction in this cycle. How surprised are we by that? We'll talk about it next on Quick 6. Welcome back to CSL, and the South Carolina Gamecocks welcomed in the reigning NCAA champs, the Florida Gators. Gamecocks have lost 5 of their last 6 games, and they really struggled early on against the 19th ranked team in the country. They're able to find Hayden Asseman right under the net, who puts it up. They couldn't do much on either side of the ball, though. The Gators were on a 15-0 run at one point in the first. Eli Ellis with a step-back jumper sinks it to get the Gamecocks back on track. But they dug themselves into way too deep of a hole. South Carolina would lose to the Gators and fall 2-6 in SEC play, losing this one in blowout fashion, 95-48.
Yeah, tough one down there at CLA. The Charlotte 49ers, though, up in your neck of the woods, Gia, up in Philly, playing the Temple Owls. Hey, it's a nice city. They're tied out at 17 in the first until they find Amoni Harrison in the corner for the 3-ball. He would knock that down. Still tight in the first. As it was closing in, Temple had the lead. Ben Bradford chucks one up to beat the buzzer, and he does. It's a 34-31 game at the break. Charlotte inching closer throughout the second, and they got close enough with Zane Mingo finding Damani Harrison to force overtime. Some free hoops tonight in the City of Brotherly Love. Who doesn't love that? Tied at 68 through 40 minutes. They were able to keep up the momentum. Mingo knocking down essentially the game-winning shot for the Niners as they get it done 80-76 in overtime over Temple. A big win on the road for the green and gold. Well, from the hardwood to the hard-hitting questions, so of course we have to bring in our resident hoops guru, Mike Lissette. It's quick 6. 6 questions, 2 minutes on the clock. You ready? Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, Gia, are you surprised that Panthers offensive coordinator Brad Idzik hasn't gotten any tread on his head coaching cycle this year?
Honestly, not really. I just feel like already, he didn't really do the play calling this year, obviously, so that kind of eliminates him from a lot of offensive coordinator positions or head coaching positions for sure. I'm just not sure. Yes, the offense improved, but did it improve enough? Because it had some downsides as well, so I'm not very surprised.
Yeah, still very inconsistent on that side of the ball. All right, Mike, Giannis has officially requested a trade from the Bucks.
Crazy.
While extremely unlikely, what would you give as Hornets GM to Milwaukee to get the superstar?
I would include, you're not going to do this, but it'd have to be Brandon Miller. You'd want to get rid of LaMelo Ball. Yeah. And I would imagine a draft pick, maybe a second-round draft pick. I don't know. You throw in a first, that's a lot. But, we're talking definitely Brandon Miller. For sure. And I know you're trying to get rid of LaMelo, so I would throw those two guys in there, definitely.
Yeah, definitely not a deal I don't know if Jeff Peterson and company will make. All right, Gia, should the Panthers target Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq?
Is it ever bad to get another young target for Bryce Young? I don't think so. However, I liked what they were doing with tight ends this year. Yeah. I'm not sure if they're all going to be coming back this year, but I think it's not a bad thing, but I also don't think it's their first priority.
Yeah, Dave Canales loves those 3 tight end sets, especially if we got popular league-wide this year. All right, Mike, NASCAR could be looking at a Mario Kart-style snow race if the weather holds this weekend for the Clash. Who has the advantage if they do race on Sunday?
The man who's got the extra banana peel in his trunk.
Which driver are you predicting that to be?
Christopher Bell. Why not?
Hey, see Bell, as consistent as they come. All right, Gia. Patrick Reed is applied to come back to the PGA Tour. The same week, another LIV golfer, Brooks Koepka, returns to the tour. What will be Reed's response from fans?
Listen, I feel like who didn't see this coming a few years ago, right? The competition's just not there for LIV, so it's just the beginning of the end for LIV.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys are going to be coming back. All right, Mike, we know you've been biting at the chomp to answer this one. So let's get it over with. Who's going to win the men's Royal Rumble match on Saturday?
At the buzzer, I think it's going to be Logan Paul. I think he just signed another deal. He's now full-time with the company. I think they're going to completely go all in on him and let him win the men's Rumble.
Hey, we'll see if he gets it done. The Royal Rumble, always a fun night in wrestling. And some big-name golfers are out for a practice round today, getting ready for the 2026 PGA Tour season, which tees off tomorrow with the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines. The PGA Tour, it's back and it's crown-worthy, but what else is? Find out next when we hand out our Carolina Crowns.